What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is the Fullstack bro, and today I'm gonna do a video about how to become more productive as a developer. So I'm gonna break down 6 ways that you can effectively become productive and then also buy back your time. Okay, so let's get to it. The first way to become more productive is that any task that you're working on, break that task down into smaller pieces. I'm not talking about just bug fixes, right? If there's simple bug fixes that you have to do, those are easy to knock out. I'm talking about major projects to where you have all your tasks or requirements in this in an epic, right? An epic is basically a ticket that's the parent of everything that you need to do to get this feature out the door. Now, when it comes to making sure that you could get things done effectively, what you need to do is, even though the epic would break down everything into smaller tasks, I would pick out the hardest task that you need to work on. So say, for example, there is a back-end architecture that you need to build out with this feature, but it's very hard to do. This looking at the requirements, what I would do is take that hardest task, do that first, and then break that hardest task into smaller components so that you could get the ball rolling to finishing out that task. As you get exposed to bigger projects down the line, you're going to notice that sometimes the requirements are way too basic and you need to pretty much think outside the box in terms of how this feature should work. Second thing is embrace the tools. Embrace the tool set that you have. As a developer, there's so many different tools that we use to make our lives a lot easier. Okay, when we're talking about writing out code, I would use an AI extension. Like, I use Visual Studio Code personally, so I would use AI as a helper, right? So that I'm not writing out a bunch of code and doing it word for word. I can use an extension like GitHub Copilot, which is very good. It's a paid service right now, but a lot of developers like it. It gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of analyzing your code, understanding what exactly is being written, and how to refactor your code in the future. There's also another one that's free. It's called Codium. That's my personal favorite, and I use that day to day. Codium does the same thing as GitHub Copilot, but I think the paid version has more features with it. But pretty much you would get that out the box. So definitely use tools or third-party extensions to your benefit, especially like a linting tool. If you have a linting tool that or a linting extension that basically would show you errors that's going on in your code, right? Like if it should be written a different way, if there's a typo, at least you will have that error linting on to tell you exactly what's going on there. So always use tools. Don't just go into writing code without any tools unless you really want to learn the basics that way. But if you have to understand that we're in a day and age where things are getting much easier with other people building extensions to help with development. Third thing for me personally, and I've used this to my advantage, is stick to a schedule. Now, when it comes to meetings that you have to attend, obviously account for that, but make sure that you're allotting time for just getting stuff done. There might be times where, things happen where you're on support and you got to help someone else with a problem, to solve a problem. When you're dealing with the schedule, if you have a schedule that you're sticking to, you could block out your time for just dedicating it to working on one particular thing, getting that done, and moving on, right? Like I advocate for at least 4 to 5 hours of working on code and then taking breaks. Or you could do 20 minutes of writing code, 20 to 30 minutes, and then taking a break, and then doing it that way. There's so many different ways to go about it, but at least if you adhere to a schedule, you will notice that your productivity will go way up as opposed to not doing that at all and just kind of like going throughout your day without anything. So always create a schedule, stick to that schedule, and you will see results. The fourth thing is always stay in the loop. when it comes to technology. Now, as a developer, you're going to be looking into different languages, different coding libraries and frameworks that could potentially help you write code a lot better and get rid of a lot of tech debt doing this, right? So always be diligent in being a student and not just acting like you know everything. That's not how this works. I've been in development for over 10 years now, okay? I used to have that mindset where if I learned something, I mastered it and that's it, and there's no room for growth. And it really set me back because I didn't take the time to look into new possibilities, right? And coding languages is only going to get better. There's always going to be improvements and refinements to what you've written in the past versus like a couple years from now, it will change to something more efficient. So if you had that mindset to where you're just sitting there learning new things and always trying to do the latest thing, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be a game changer for you, but at least you would have that will to learn something that catches your attention. And I'm not saying that you have to learn everything that's out there, every language that's out there, but if there's something that you're very interested in, I would try it, right? You don't know if based off of what you're currently using in your tech stack, if that's going to be obsolete in the future. So it's always good to stay up to date with new technology. It's only going to give you more opportunities for something else that comes up and it blows up. So stay a student, never act like you mastered something because there's always room for growth in this field. The fifth thing, ditch the distractions. Now, if you're working from home, that's a different story. There's going to be distractions all the time. If you have your phone on you, for me personally, I always have my phone on me and I get notifications all the time. And usually I put it on do not disturb because if I get distracted by my friends texting me or going on Instagram or YouTube, Spotify, I'm going to waste a lot of time to get back on track. So always put your phone on do not disturb if you're that type of person that your attention just goes out the window. What you want to do as well is if you like to watch TV and have the TV on in the background, you got to turn that off while you're working. At least for the 20 to 30 minutes that you're working, always keep the TV on or at least keep it off for like at least 4 hours, right? And you're going to notice that you're going to be more productive because you're tuned in on what you need to do. And then also when it comes to just other things, like if you're not working from home and you're just in the office, there's going to be a huge distraction when you have coworkers coming over trying to talk to you and you got notifications going off on your laptop for different things. And, you know, you just have to make sure that at least when you're in the office, you have your headphones in, right? And you're just working on something. And if someone knocks at your cubicle or your office that they need to talk to you about something and it's not that important, just tell them like, hey, give me like 20 to 30 minutes to wrap up what I'm doing and then we could talk about it, right? Being that open with someone will keep you accountable to what you need to do. And then also like that your time is very valuable to focus on this one thing. So keep that in mind. Ditch distractions. If you don't ditch distractions, you're never going to get anything done. And then the last thing is code reviews and peer programming, right? Peer programming. So when it comes to writing out your code, right, you can't assume that your code is going to be 100% correct. There's code that I've written in the past that has been garbage, okay? Based off of like the projects that I've worked on, I've noticed that the way my coding has progressed was because of the QA team finding bugs in my code and then also fellow developers actually picking apart my code. And developers have their own style of coding, so sometimes it's kind of nitpicky. You kind of feel some type of way. Honestly, for me, I used to feel some type of way about that, but after a while, it is what it is, right? I could do the same thing for their code as well, right? I have my own style. If I find something that I don't like, I would provide a suggestion. And also working with another developer on your coding style and standards doesn't necessarily mean that you have to adhere to their standards, but it's more so as to like, hey, this is a standard that we're trying to upkeep for our code base here. Let's work together on this, right? When it comes to your own projects, then you have your own say on that. If you're working with someone building like a software as a service or just like a fun project that you want to have on the side, obviously you're not going to care about that too much. As long as it works, it's all good. But if you're working on a real world application that users are going to be using, then you need to take an effect that you're going to run into people finding bugs in your code, in the application, and you have to document that, right? So having someone that will peer review the code would reduce that risk, and at least there will be more improvement in terms of your iteration of different features as you start to scale. So peer programming is very good. There's no way that someone is perfect. Like I said, I've written bad code and that I thought was perfect, and then after so many times of getting critiqued on my code, the only thing that I needed to do was get better, right? And stay up to date with certain trends so that when it comes to building out features in the future, we don't run into this problem again. Okay. So that's it, guys. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I want to see you in the comments, man. Let's write in the comments, like, what have you done to be more productive? Appreciate the time. Thank you. Take care.